Hey guys, welcome back to We the People. Hi, I'm your host, Captivating Christian, and today we'll be talking about what else? History, of course. But this being the first day of Black History, why not talk about it? When we scrolled through our textbooks and we looked at the first Congress, or the first Continental Congress, we shown pictures of Congress looking like this, right? But actually later on in history, Congress started to look a little bit like that. Awesome, ain't it? So let's get into it. Born into slavery, Joseph Rainey was the first African American to serve in the U.S. House of Representatives and the first African American to preside over the House, and the longest serving African American during the tumultuous Reconstruction period. While Rainey's representation, like that of the other 21 representatives of the era, was symbolic, he also demonstrated a political nuance of a seasoned, substantive representative, balancing his defense of the Southern black civil rights by extending amnesty to the defeated Confederates, saying, and I quote, "I tell you that the Negro will never rest until he gets his rights." He said on the House floor, "We ask for civil rights because we know it is proper." Rainey added, not because he wants to deprive any other class of the rights and immunities they enjoy, but because they are granted to us by law of the land. Joseph Hayne Rainey was born on June 21st, 1832 to Grace and Edward L. Rainey in Georgetown, South Carolina, a seaside town consisting mainly of rice plantations. The Raineys raised at least one other child, Edward Jr. Grace Rainey was of French descent. Edward Rainey was a barber, and his master permitted him to work independently if he shared some of his profits as required by law. Rainey used his earnings to buy his family's freedom in the early 1840s, and in 1846 the family moved to Charleston, South Carolina, where Edward became a barber at the exclusive Mills House Hotel. As given official instructions to black children was illegal, Joseph Rainey received a limited education, and his father taught him the barber trade. By 1850, Edward Rainey could afford to buy 2 male slaves for his family. In 1859, Joseph Rainey traveled to Philadelphia, where he met and married his wife, Susan, also a half-French mulatto, originally from the West Indies. Rainey continued to work as a barber, and the couple had 3 children, Joseph II, Herbert, and Olivia. Rainey advocated for his constituents, both black and white. He used his growing political clout to influence the South Carolina state legislature to retain the customs duty on rice, the chief export of the district and the state. Rainey's work on the Committee on Freedmen Affairs, created in 1865 to handle all legislation concerning newly freed slaves, earned him the most recognition. On April 1st, 1871, he delivered the first major speech arguing the use of the federal troops to protect Southern blacks from the recent organized Ku Klux Klan. Rainey also advocated for radical Republican Senator Charles Sumner's Civil Rights Bill of 1875, which outlawed radical discrimination in juries, in schools, on transportation, and in public accommodations. Rainey also focused on the bill's provisions of desegregation in public schools and issued that he focused on Bill's provisions for desegregation in public schools and issues that have bedeviled race relations for more than a century. Breaking from fellow Republicans, he was among a minority favoring a $1 poll tax to support public education. Other Republicans successfully argued this would disenfranchise most freed slaves. Nevertheless, Rainey continued to advocate education, later arguing that money from the sale of public land should be used to fund public education. Though the Civil Rights Bill passed on the House in February 5th of 1875, the Senate quickly concurring its provision failed to address the desegregation or equality in public education. Rainey fought against discrimination, was not limited to prejudice against African Americans. Appointed to the Committee of Indian Affairs, he made history in April of 1874 when he took the chair from Speaker James Blaine, becoming the first African American to preside over the House of Representatives. Throughout his career, Rainey involved himself in economic issues that affected his race. Established by Congress in 1865, the Freedmen's Savings and Trust Company, known as the Freedmen's Bank, was envisioned as a means to help newly emancipated African Americans build capital through the capture of savings. 2/3 of the bank's holdings was originally invested in the United States Treasury bonds.